So, did anyone try yesterday completing the customer part of the CMS system? Done? Very good, guys. So, we'll be talking about that. So, I'll tell you today's plan. So, rest of the day, you have it as a complete revision and all that. So, first half is extremely important. So, after doing the revision of what is Spring Boot and telling you more things, the theoretical conceptual details, I will complete the customer flow uh, by referring to, I want to show you how to automatically take the client from logout to login page using something called as refresh headers and all. So after doing all this remaining parts, we are going to enter representational state transfer, which is nothing but your a web service implemented using REST principles. So you already must be knowing about REST since you said you have done the integration with React frontend and a Node.js backend. But still, I would like to explain the concept and then we will start with the implementation. So remaining day, we are going to spend in REST after revising it, after doing a quick revision and completion of the customer flow. And then you will see, okay, so let me say this. In yesterday's, whatever we did, Spring MVC with Boot, the DAO layer was not using native Hibernate APIs. Instead, it was using something else. So what was it using instead? I'm saying the DAO layer. What was it using? What is the dependency of the DAO layer? Was it Hibernate specific or was it Hibernate independent? It was using JPA. Everyone knows that. So we do not have a single trace or any class, any layer which is Hibernate specific. Pojos were never Hibernate specific. Now DAO layer is also not. So I told you the journey. We started with JDBC, abstracted with Hibernate, native Hibernate, and that native Hibernate is now abstracted by the super type. What is the super interface of ORG Hibernate session? JPA's entity manager. And I hope you have spent enough time that your Spring container can directly inject the entity manager, which is 100% equivalent to your session, representing persistence context. That is why the annotation @persistence context. And with little bit of changes, we could migrate the, we could migrate from native Hibernate to JPA. So let me ask you, we have in Hibernate world, session.save, persist, save or update merge. What is it replaced by in JPA? Which is the method corresponding to all of this in JPA? Persist. We have update method, session.update. What is it replaced by in Entity Manager's API? It's a merge method, very right. And the same merge, in goes the detached Pojo and out comes the persistent Pojo. So the API wise, understanding wise, it is the same. When you say create query, is the create query method same, change or no change from Hibernate to JPA? You have used so many times, no change. Setting parameter, getting result list, get single result, all same. Next one. We used to use session.get to find the entity by the primary key. What is that get replaced by? Find. I have not taken session.load. That is something for lazy loading. I'll take it sometime. So that load method is replaced by something called as get reference. I forgot anything. Yeah, delete. We had session.delete to mark the Pojo for removal. Here it is remove. So other than that, the concept, the L1 cache, the whole Pojo state transition is all the same. You got me? So, but the point is, even when we transferred from or migrated from standalone Hibernate, or I can say native Hibernate to JPA, which of the following you still have to write? I'll repeat my question. Hear my English properly. I said in your yesterday's customer completion part or CMS flow or whatever, which of the following you still have to write? DAO interface, DAO implementation class, both or neither? Simple question I'm asking you. I'm not asking you difficult question at all. What is it still present? Answer is both. So what if we learn the highest level of abstraction where we replace JPA by a yet another Spring supplied project, Spring Data JPA. You remember when we created the Spring Boot project yesterday, one of the check boxes we had selected was Spring Data JPA. So what was the ultimate abstraction you are going to get today, little later after I finish all of this, you are going to come to the place where you don't even have to write, imagine, DAO implementation class. And all we will be writing is the DAO layer interfaces, extending some Spring Data JPA repositories. There are methods, there are interfaces such as CRUD repository, JPA repository, and that will reduce the bulk of your code. So what will be that bulk reduction? Entire DAO implementation will be reduced to 0, and we will be left with couple of repositories, couple of interfaces to manage. Okay, so all that in good time you are going to see. So let us not waste time. Let us start with the quick revision. I have said some things, I have not said something. So I better do that. Then we are going to complete it. You can, I've just extracted all Spring MVC into another README, and then we will enter REST and we'll be there. So after we enter REST, we are going to create from scratch. I don't want to copy it from earlier project. When we enter RESTful applications, web services, backend basically. So after explaining the React app, which I have shared already, it is nothing but a simple employee CRUD. So we will identify what are the requirements from the backend, which I have already identified. As usual, nobody does the integration directly with the front end. So we will test all our APIs, the backend APIs with Postman, and then we'll attach React and do the full stack testing. Is the requirement, is the flow clear? This is what you are going to get. And if time permits today or tomorrow means Monday, I will show you the installing of the this thing Lombok library, and that will even reduce your Pojo layer. The whatever getters, setters, zero argument, default constructor, toString, etc. will be all gone. Okay, so let's get started. So here, when I say what is Spring Boot, guys, these are the important readmes. I'll take some efforts, additional efforts for you, and I will create a folder, important interview help, where there will be a core Java. I'll not do core Java. You please take efforts. Enterprise Java, advanced Java, I'll take this. And starting from, servlet API details or whatever, I'll just collate it. And so it will be easier for you. Or at least I'll give you the names that these are the readmes you should go through. So one of such readme is regarding Spring Boot. Okay, extremely important from the point of your exam preparation or interview preparation and all that. So here, you're most welcome, Danishwar. So here, why you people ask you why Spring Boot or why Spring Boot is extremely popular and extremely popular, trending in the market, because there were problems with the legacy. Legacy means non-Spring Boot. Latest is Spring Boot. Okay, so before I go any further, because I may not remember, tell me which is the STS version we are using so far. We are using 3.x, as in 3.9.16 or 17 or 18. Everyone with me? I'll repeat the statement. I said we are using 3.x version. But why I forced you to use 3.9 something, that is because you had in your contents Spring application deployment with a classic approach. Classic means legacy, XML based approach. So listen to the next statement carefully. The moment you understand or rather migrate from the legacy, which is non-Spring Boot, to Spring Boot, which is modern, you can remove, you can get rid of Spring. I'm not saying you do it SOS basis, immediate basis, anytime later. You can replace it by STS 4.x. Okay, so you can now replace the moment you enter Spring Boot, You can replace STS, your ID, STS 3.9 point whatever, by STS 4.x, because now we are not going to use any XML approach. Okay, that was the statement I wanted to make some time. Anyway, so that's just an ID, nothing great about it. So the point is, okay, what is the problem? You can read this in a minute. You know all about it because that is how I've shown you. Everyone agrees. So start, get into the practice of reading it vertically, fast reading. So here, I've shown you the Spring Core module to do the dependency injection. Spring AOP, I have yet to show you. I'll show you in the next week. MVC to develop the web layer. Today, you'll use the same Spring MVC framework to develop the RESTful web services. I've shown you the DAO layer. I've not shown you Spring JDBC. One quick demo I'll show you. It also supports Spring, data access layer supports the JDBC based development. But the main thing you have is ORM. So that is what we have been doing for last 2-3 days. So initially, we had used the XML based configuration or hybrid approach where there was less XML and majority annotation. But over the time, this configuration becomes harder to maintain. Means what? See, I have a quick this thing. Web.xml, dispatcher servlet entry. Spring-servlet.xml. All this we had to do before we enter Spring Boot. The whole context tags, MVC annotation tags, view resolver tags, etc. Then we had to develop entire Hibernate persistence XML file and inject the beans, create the beans, connection pool, session factory, transaction manager. Okay, so all this is like complex. Form.xml, was it getting generated automatically before Spring Boot? So I'll say this, before Spring Boot, legacy. After Spring Boot, it is modern. Okay, so in the legacy Spring application, was form.xml getting generated automatically or not? Of course not. I was giving you, so you do not find it so hard. But the point is, I had to go to that Maven Central repository and match the versions. Okay, this is Spring 5.x. What is it supporting? Let's say Hibernate 5. And I had to copy those dependency tags and give you the populated one. Okay, and not worst case, but the point is, once we have all of that, all the dependencies in place, we still had to add the external web container, that was your Tomcat, and we had to do this. So one-liner. Why Spring? If you don't want to do any of this on your own, and if you want somebody, third party, to do it automatically for us, Spring Boot is the go-to place. Spring Boot will automatically do all these things for us. Okay, so I'm not reading the whole README. It will take us at least half an hour if I start explaining line by line. Guys, a weekend is approaching. So I'll give you, you just remind me. In case I forget, feel free to drop me a WhatsApp message. What I'll tell you, reading homework. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of READMEs, which already have been distributing, but I will mention that these are the compulsory ones to read. So in case I forget to mention, do send me a reminder. Going ahead. So what are the coolest features? What are the, exciting features, like, go-to features or USPs of Spring? First of it is automatic configuration. Everyone knows that. Did we have to configure your dispatcher servlet using web.xml? Answer is no. Did we have to configure any handler mapping or view resolver beans or that entire Spring MVC? Nothing. So we don't have to use XML or annotation, or there is something like Java configuration classes, nothing. So examples you can read on your own. Just one small point I'll make, because otherwise, you misinterpret my statement and you may end up giving wrong answers in interviews. Guys, I'm going to take you to the ultimate abstraction in database world, which is Spring Data JPA. So if anyone asks you a question, can you use Spring Data JPA without Spring Boot? Answer is yes. Only thing is, if you want to use Spring Data JPA, why would you not use Spring Boot is a different story. I'm just talking about a question. What you will have to do is, in that pom.xml, you will have to add the dependency tag for Spring Data JPA. Whereas Spring Boot makes it so easy. You have a checkbox by the name Spring Data JPA, and the best part is Spring Boot starters, which I'll explain in a minute. So the point I'm trying to make is you just mention a one Spring Boot starter and it will pull in all the dependencies. So once again, is Spring Hibernate integration, is Spring Data JPA possible even in a legacy Spring Framework applications? 100% yes. Only thing is you have to take the extra efforts. Okay, so that is it is. So So the first cool feature is automatic configuration. Zero configuration we did. Only thing we did little bit of configuration was populating that application property file, which is mandatory. Otherwise, how will your Spring Boot know which database and what properties? Another USP, which programmers are fond of, Spring Boot starter. So you tell me, obvious, dumb question. Would you like to add a one Spring Boot starter tag in a pom.xml? Or would you like to develop, or rather, would you like to copy paste 10 dependencies associated with one? Of course, a single starter. So read this carefully. Spring has, come out with the approach of a Spring Boot starter. Read this. With Spring Boot starter, Spring Boot takes the problem off our headache. I mean, it reduces our headache of a module availability. So earlier, we had to, as a programmer, I had to identify the different versions of dependencies and match their compatibilities and all that. The Spring team, Spring Boot team, Spring Boot developer team has already done this for us, and everything has been mentioned in that Spring Boot starter parent. And then we have different type of starters. Can you give me an example? Because if you don't understand, I don't think you'll understand with the example. Can you give me one or two examples of the Spring Boot starters which we already have added? Guys, it is not a yes, you're right, Kanal. It is not a memory-based question at all. Open your this. Yes, the Spring Web done. What else? You got so many. So if you just say, open that pom.xml, and there are not tons, okay, 4 or 5 starters. So here, the first one, which pulls in all the basic core dependencies using DIs, AOP, and the Spring Boot container is Spring Boot starter parent. You inherit from it. So all the basic dependencies are given even before you ask. But which are the additional starters we asked for by checking those checkboxes? That is Spring Data JPA. The validation. We have not used validation. Spring Data JPA not yet. Today you will use validation on Monday. And Spring Boot Starter Web. This is the one we are using currently to develop a web MVC application to be continued in the REST APIs. Dev tools for live reloads. The MySQL connector, that is what we are using as a JDBC connector. Lombok for reduction of boilerplate code in Pojo, but not yet shown. The another one is, which we did not ask, but the moment you say Spring Starter Web, which is the default embedded container it uses? Answer is in front of you, our good old Tomcat. Only thing is, you don't have to slog by adding a server, downloading the server and configuring it. It is embedded. It gets embedded in your Spring Boot project. The best part, there are so many best parts. So one of the parts which I'll show you Monday or Tuesday, you have an excellent testing mechanism. There is one annotation, guys, @Spring Boot test. And that is where you start writing the test cases. I had shown you earlier this week, writing a test case. But if you remember, we were writing, I think, Dow layer test cases. So that time we had to write at before, or I mean, we had to create the instance of the Dow layer and then write the test case. Come to Spring Boot with the annotation @ Spring Boot test over time. It supports completely dependency injection. So we will just auto wire either the Dow layer or the service layer or the web layer. Web layer means controller layer, and you can do the unit testing also, integration testing also. Okay, so this is already done. But these dependencies, were they supplied, or I mean, were they automatically generated, or did we have to copy? We had to copy. So because here I told you the purpose of Spring Boot, the large majority Spring Boot projects are for developing a backend REST API endpoint. But I'm not at all saying you might join a company where they are not using a full stack, but they're using Spring MVC web application. So these dependencies are then essential. So coming back to the point I was trying to make is, this is what is automatically generated. And I showed you yesterday effective POM, which is such a huge POM, so many dependencies. Okay, given a lot of examples. Here, you don't have to worry about external container. It comes with a embedded container. The default container is Tomcat. Okay, let me say this very clearly. Are we forced to use these, what is it called? Automatic configuration? Absolutely not. In simple word, can I override? Can I change all these configurations as a programmer? 100%. Can I customize it? 100%. But that means additional configuration, which I'm not showing, or which I'm not discussing. There is another beautiful starter called as Spring Boot Actuator. I have not yet shown you. I mean, it's not part of your contents, but it is good to know. So when you bring in, I'm not yet added, Spring Boot Actuator, it gives you lot of debugging health checks, whether the web layer is working fine, whether the the Dow layer or the repositories or whatever is working fine. So here, all these reports, the loggers reports can be activated. And if there is a problem, somebody can look at it. So what is in a single line? A Spring Boot, like a mathematical equation, you can say. When you are learning Spring Boot, are we replacing Spring Framework, or is it an additional layer on the top of a Spring layer, a Spring Framework? Additional layer or replacement? Additional layer. So you can define the Spring Boot as our good old Spring Framework, which is anyway excellent, which gives you dependency injection, loose coupling, and IOC, etc., plus embedded web server, which is a default embedded container. It has Tomcat, minus without the headache of complex configuration. You don't have that web.xml, spring-servlet.xml, Hibernate persistence XML, no configuration, and without the headache of dependencies management in pom.xml. So that is your Spring Boot. So Spring Framework, and here I can say leading to, or I'll say here resulting into industry grade enterprise application. So that is the promise of, or that is why Spring Boot is so famous. So I'll just take one. Every day I'll be giving you more and more concepts, because otherwise this theoretical becomes boring. So what is the starting point of a Spring Boot application? It is nothing but our good old main method. It's a main based application. Even when I take you little later, 1 hour or I don't know, half an hour maybe. So in the RESTful APIs, our starting point is the same. So favorite question, typical answer. What is the starting point of a Spring Boot application? A class called as Spring application. It has a static method run. And here run method has 2 arguments. The name of the class, which is annotated with a super magical. When I say magical and all, so many goodies, so many things it brings in. Okay. So the starting point of a Spring Boot application is a Spring application class annotated with Spring Boot application. Okay, so what is it? When you see the APIs, OSB, I mean ORG Spring Framework Boot, the name of the class is Spring Application, and this is the class. See, we don't have any XML file. We don't have any bean tags and all to bootstrap. So this class is used to bootstrap and launch a Spring application from a public static void main method. So this is why, guys, how do you launch a Spring Boot application? Do you say right click, run on server? Absolutely not. You simply run this class, right click on this class and run as Spring Boot application. Okay, so what are the three things? This, I am giving you more details. Yesterday I could not because I was after getting you started, right? So by default means if you don't add additional annotations, what will this annotation bring in? Or what is this Spring Boot application class will do? I hope you remember Spring Framework API. So what was that root interface? Bean Factory. But Bean Factory being the bean provider, Spring Bean provider, doesn't work with a web environment. So what was the sub interface of a Bean Factory? Application context. You remember application context? OSCS, ORG Spring Framework context. Oh, sorry, ORG Spring Framework context. The implementation class is in that support. So the point is, application context instance, earlier we were creating. So who is now going to create that? This Spring application. And what it represents? It represents your Spring container. And this Spring container, which is launched from the Spring application, is going to manage the life cycle of Spring Beans. Give me which are the Spring Beans we are using. I'll give you the choices. Controller, soon to be replaced by REST controller. What was that? Service, DAO, POJOs. Tell me, out of these, which are Spring Beans and which is not a Spring Bean? Tell me, out of this list, what is not a Spring Bean? Means whose life cycle is not managed by the Spring container? Answer that. Or all? Everything is managed by Spring container? Quickly. Of course not. POJOs is the wrong answer. Okay. POJOs are what? Hibernate managed POJOs. Hibernate manage either entities or your embeddables. So that life cycle is never managed by Spring container. So be careful, be clear. And of course, later I'll show you what I'll show you is this thing. What is it called? Global exception handler beans and the controller advice. But today you don't know. Today you know these. Okay. So this is the second thing your Spring application will do upon launching. And in addition to that, what it will launch? Do you need external container? Everyone knows that. It will launch the embedded Tomcat container. So guys, these are the favorite, like I said, popular questions. So go through those readmes carefully at the time of preparation. I've written it in a question answer type, kind of. Now, you have to understand, I told you, the major thing you are grilled upon is annotations. So which is the annotation? See, you may not notice all this because we never added it. See, are you understanding what I'm talking about? I'm talking about, open your Spring Boot application, please. I'm talking about, this was our Spring Boot project. Under the base package, when in the first screen, when it asks us what is the package, that becomes by default the base package. So under that, there is a class. Servlet initializer is only for web application. Currently ignore. Here, this is the class I'm talking about. So what is it? If you just take a cursor over Spring application, this is the one which is used to bootstrap and launch, and it will perform all these steps which I was mentioning. Okay. And now I'm discussing the work of the one simple, simple but powerful annotation, namely Spring Boot app. So let me, I'll ask it as a question answer. Which is the major master annotation or whatever, which is the annotation used to tell the Spring Boot framework that this is the starting point, this is the launching point of your Spring Boot application? Answer is so easy. The name of the annotation is @Spring Boot application. Understood the question and the answer? What is the annotation to mark the entry point or the Spring Boot application class? The name of the annotation itself is @Spring Boot app. On Monday or Tuesday, when I take you the testing, when I show you the testing practices, testing done in Spring Boot, you will see this Spring Boot application annotation will be replaced by Spring Boot test. Okay, so whenever I discuss the test cases, we'll do that. Now, this annotation consists of internally three. I mean, it is a combination of three annotations. So which are those three annotations? The first one is Spring Boot configuration, where you are telling the container that this particular main class, the class containing main method, can contain several bean definitions. Currently, we are not having, but you can add. So which is the tag which corresponds to bean tag in XML-based configuration? You know, the name of the tag itself is @bean. Wait for Monday or Tuesday, one of these days, I want to start your Spring Boot security, securing web application. Okay, so at that time, we will have to write certain annotations. So the first thing is the Spring Boot application is equal to combo of these three. So I'm explaining one by one. So one is Spring Boot configuration, where you can add equivalent to XML bean tags. The name of the annotation is @bean it's a method level annotation. The one which is really magical is why we are coming to Spring Boot to write more and more configuration or to enjoy automatic configuration. Dumb question, but still I'm asking you. Obvious question. Of course, we want your everything automatic. So when you say Spring Boot application @Spring Boot app, it also enables automatic configuration. Means what? It tells Spring Boot to automatically configure the Spring Boot application based on the dependencies which we have added, which we have selected. All those dependency jars which are there in the class path, it will automatically configure. See, without example, the whole thing falls flat. So I know I'm spending too much time. Read this, and I hope it will reach you. Read it carefully. Okay, let me start talking to you. Before Spring Boot, in Spring legacy applications. Legacy means without boot. Modern means, Spring Boot. Okay, so in the legacy Spring applications, we had to add, rather I had to add because I had already given you ready-made, all the Hibernate jars. And I had to configure that Hibernate persistence XML file, and I had to create a data source. Data source means connection pool. If you don't understand this, data source is nothing but your connection pool. Okay. And that connection pool, I had to inject in the session factory, local session factory bean, and that I had to inject in a transaction manager. But now, did you see us anywhere configuring that Hikari connection pool? It's a question. Boolean question, yes or no? Of course not. Did you see us configuring anything? You'll say where there is no session factory, but at least we have an entity manager factory. Did we configure anywhere EMF in JPA entity manager factory? Nowhere. Are the transactions still happening automatically? Yes. So the point is, who is doing all this? One annotation, guys. So your Spring Boot framework simply looks at the dependencies in that jar, in the pom.xml and configures it. It understands. I used a word. Use these words in interviews. Spring Boot is a highly opinionated framework, meaning the moment it finds the, what was that? MySQL connector. Where is it? Yeah, MySQL connector in our in our dependency, it will automatically configure the connection pool using the fastest connection pool vendor, which is Hikari default, and it will configure the from the connection pool, the entity manager factory and the rest of it. Another one, this also will reach you, should reach you fastest. In the legacy application till day before, we had to configure dispatcher servlet, handler mapping gets, but MVC colon annotation driven I had to write in my file and view resolver. In short, everything is gone. Just Spring looks at it in the pom.xml. It says, okay, you want Spring Boot web starter. Means of course you need, this is Spring Boot talking to you. So Spring Boot will say, okay, you definitely require Spring MVC. Don't bother. I will do it for you types. So it has automatically configured our dispatcher servlet, handler mapping and a view resolver beam. Only thing we had to pass was two properties, prefix and a suffix. So this is the power of this configuration. Reaching something, understanding something, or feeling sleepy? I hope not, because it's a morning time, so I'm asking you. I hope nobody started snoozing. So, and the third one, I'm wrapping up. So the third one is the, I'm giving you the dissection or the, what do you say? The internal about @ Spring Boot application. And the third one is component scan. So I hope you remember. See, I'm trying to give you the equivalence. In XML, in the first 1 or 2 days, we were having a tag context : component scan and base package. You remember that? We used to give the base package as dependent, dependency, or com.app or whatever. So are we having any single XML here other than pom.xml? Answer is no. So what was this for? This was to tell the Spring Boot. Okay, sorry. So the corresponding annotation is @ component scan. And guys, the component scan has the same attribute as your XML tag. There it was base package. Here it is base packages. And when you say @ component scan, I'm asking you a question. And when you don't write any value, can you tell me? I have a specific question. So wake up and answer. What is the default value of base package in the Spring Boot app? What is the default value of @ component scan base package value in the Spring Boot app? It's not difficult at all. Of course, com.app. But guys, if you answer this to the interviewer will say, which com.app? I don't know what you are talking about. So answer it formally. Answer is nothing but the name of the package in which your Spring Boot main application resides. So which is the package we have created in the beginning? You remember that Spring Starter project screen. So there I had given the name of the package as com.app. In that, Spring Boot application created this main class and the default value of a base package where your Spring container will scan your controller beans, DAO layer beans. POJOs are never managed by containers, so forget it. And the service layer beans will be under the base package. Understood me completely, guys? Is it reaching you fully? Yes or no? Reaching for this. So guys, first day is always about hands-on, and second day is little bit, stepping back and understanding what was happening. So that is why I'm spending such time with you. But as usual, is it like hard-coded that this is what it is, or does your Spring Boot container or Spring Boot gives you chance for customization? 100% it gives you the chance for customization. So what you can do is, I'm just spending a minute here. You can always say, suppose I'll talk an example. So maybe that will be better. For some weird reason, am I saying you use this? No. But if somebody asks you a question, you should know about it. So kinds, my main class was created under com.app, but I don't like com.app. I want to keep, suppose, my, what was that? Controller beans, DAO beans, and the service layer beans in a separate package. Example. So for example, okay, demo, something like demo package, demo.controller, demo.DAO, demo.service. Is there any way to override? Answer is right in front of you. Is it possible to override the defaults? 100% yes. So which is the additional annotation you will put on that main classes? You change component scan, and here you may mention base packages is equal to demo, and then your Spring container will scan demo and its sub packages. I hope something is reaching you again. Guys, read it. What I'll suggest is don't keep all these readmes on the just before a week before your interview preparation or exam preparation, because by then you would have forgotten. So at least spend some half an hour quickly vertically reading that stuff which I'm providing, and then it will definitely help you in the last stage of your preparation. Anyway, so next thing, you remember in the Hibernate persistence XML file, while configuring local session factory wheel, there was a property packages to scan. So who was using this property? That was being used by Hibernate to tell Hibernate that in this package, all my entities are. But the moment you say my XML is gone, is there a corresponding annotation? Okay, before I say that, let me just break this. So if you don't add that at entity scan, is there a default? Is there an automatic configuration? 100% yes. So Spring supplied Hibernate transaction manager or Spring supplied Hibernate support will by default scan for entities under which base package? Answer is same. Under the same package as com.app. Don't say com.app while answering. Under the same package where your main class is. But again, if you want to override, you are not going to use the add component scan. This is for the Spring Beans. Are you getting my point? And if you want to configure the entities, you want to say, okay, my base package, I mean, currently it is com app pojos, but anyway, so if you want this for Hibernate managed entities. So the point I'm trying to make is it really brings in a lot of stuff. And this is the starting point and of thing. So this background information is compulsory. You cannot just, do the steps and without understanding the internals. So got some idea about why Spring Boot or why it is so popular in the market? Definitely read the regarding Spring Boot end to end to get the feel. Okay. So now it is high time we proceed to our hands-on. Otherwise, we'll never complete it. So in a couple of minutes, we will complete the customer flow. And there is an additional readme. I mean, this partly I have sent, but I've just extracted all my statements from sequence and given a separate readme. Please treat this also as a good interview help. So Spring MVC details. Here I have written full internals or, the explanation of all. So there's a question I've sent it in the earlier sequences. I just collated it, compiled it into one document. So you can start from model attribute, model and view, etc. Handling request parameters. Somebody was getting yesterday. I told him HTTP 400, a bad request error. It typically means there is something you are sending as a request parameter and your conversion is wrong, kind of. So a lot of things I have mentioned here. Definitely read, including our PRG pattern and all. So instead of getting distracted, let's do a flow revision and reach the part where it is important. So I think, guys, everyone knows how this index.page is delivered. So let me not waste your time. Let me take you to the login.jsp directly and we'll revise from that. So where is that? Under user, login.jsp. Let me ask you, give me a frank answer always. Everyone has understood the Spring MVC flow till the point it shows us the login form. If it is no, tell me no, I can repeat. But if you have understood, I'll not waste time. Some answer is expected. Okay, let me ask you the other way. Anyone needs a revision till we reach this point? I hope not, because we've been doing it for last 2 days. Okay, you can let me know later also, no problem. So now let us start the revision. Same old. When the user clicks on login button, I'll ask you question. What will be the URI? I said what will be the URI which will be sent from the client to server. Start responding fast. Still we are into revision, as you know. Okay, so here, yes, very good, this one, Prashant. Yeah, slash user slash login is the URL pattern, Sumit. I was wanting to remind you, don't say slash day 17 spring MVC Hibernate. Are we using same thing as the context root or have we changed it? Answer is we have changed it. So where is that change? SRC main resources, application properties, and what is the context path we have supplied? Slash spring MVC boot. So what will be the URI after the form is submitted? Slash spring MVC boot slash user slash login. Are we good? Now keep opening. The first thing you do come up in the morning, I mean for the rest of the days, keep this figure because everything is all associated with it. So slash user slash login given to the front controller, send to the handler mapping, and what will it send back? A not null value. So which controller has all the things? User controller. Which method to look at? Show form or process form? Of course, process form. Injected with all these dependencies. First two are the method arguments bound to request parameters resolved by a spring, the model map, empty model map, and HTTP session object. In case of successful customer login, which is the line which will be executed? Line number 58. Are we completely clear so far? Okay. So, guys, when you read over the weekend reading, one of this, if I forget, please put it. One is that regarding Spring Boot, reading homework files, and the other one is Spring MVC detail. So, if anyone has forgotten about the PRG pattern, complete write-up is here. So you can just read this much anytime, not now, later, and you will know. When you say redirect colon slash, what are the internals? So dispatcher servlet will skip the view resolver bean and it will send the temporary redirect response. How? Calling the good old API, which is send redirect plus encode redirect URL. And what will be the next request coming from the client, which is, okay, slash spring MVC, just another one. You can say spring, whatever was that? Spring boot MVC, whatever, slash customer slash topics. So this is the next request. I can say this is a redirect request. Post redirect get request. So now tell me, it's the same thing. We are just going there quickly. So here, again, coming to front controller, to handler mapping, and which will be the, where are we now? Are we in user controller or have we stepped into the customer namespace? Of course, in the customer namespace. So open the customer controller and we were sending all the topics. So, okay, the method dispatcher servlet was calling this. And what is it we were returning as the handler? Logical view name or a redirect view name? Logical view name. You got that? And actual view name, logical to actual, translated by view resolver. So that is where you went to, or you came to, you control came to, forward it to topics.jsp, open topics.jsp. And what we were doing is, since now we had saved the user details in a larger scope, wider scope, session scope. Session is equal to what? Multiple requests coming from the same client till you discard the session. We have not written the logout page. You might have written. So the point is, now, instead of struggling with whether to add the slash, whether to start with relative path or whatever, enter spring colon URL. If you do the reading part, I have written somewhere spring colon URL also regarding. Yeah. So here, how to take care of links, href, form actions, plus add the URL rewriting support. pretty easy. So it is nothing but use the Spring supplied Spring colon URL tag, and Spring colon URL has a value. So if, for example, log out, so if the cookies are disabled, automatically JSession ID gets appended. In case cookies are enabled, still it will generate the URL with respect to your current context path. So this slash here is nothing but the root of current web application. So I've written in detail. You just have to read it, guys. So what will be the URL if cookies are enabled, and what will be the URL if cookies are disabled? All written in a proper manner. Anyway, so coming back to the point, now when this choose topic button is clicked, and suppose topic name was Spring and topic ID was something 3. Can you tell me what will be the URI which will be the next request will be coming from client pull 1. Client is clicking on a button. Tell me the URI. Okay, forget URI. /spring MVC boot. You give me the URL pattern at least. Whatever you want. Are you understanding? I'm saying suppose the topic name was Spring and topic ID was 3. Some numbers I'm just giving. What will it be? /customer. Where is it? Yes, /tutorials. Absolutely correct. After that, question mark. And after that, what it will be? Yeah, the name will be topic ID and value will be 3. Got it completely? Yes, I got the answer. So now, again, a request comes to dispatcher servlet to handler mapping. Handler mapping will tell the moment you see /customer, we have done it smartly. So open the customer controller. And which method will be called? Obviously, the next method. We have written it in sequence. So now this method gets called. Okay. So which is the one request parameter we have bound to your method argument, topic ID. If you say, suppose I say, okay, I don't want to give this name topic ID. I want to give the name as ID. Then you will have to inject a argument here such as name and supply the name. Suggestion is match it instead. Okay. And now, so here we are getting all the way from the database, all the tutorial names by a specific topic ID. And that list we are adding it, that name list, we are adding it in the request scope because all we are doing is a server pull. So which is the next JSP where the control will go to, where it will be forwarded to tutorials.jsp. So that is your tutorials.jsp. Now the next question, see the usage of Spring colon URL. I'm telling you, anytime you want to have a form action or link href tag, pass it through Spring colon URL. It will automatically create a URI with reference to the current web application, plus you will enjoy URL rewriting. Okay, so let me see. Suppose the name of the tutorial is Understanding Spring MVC. So what will be the what will be the what is it called? The request next the next request URL. Everyone knows it. /spring MVC boot. After that /customer /tutorial details and tutorial name Understanding Spring MVC. Getting it or not? Following whatever I'm saying? Is it clear so far? Completely? Okay. So now another new request comes in, which from the all the way to the client, from the client, which has to be mapped to what? Another method in the customer controller. So this is your another method, I think last method. And now you know that, of course, if you look at it, you will understand. We are coming to the last part. So here, when I say this is the transition I'm talking about, CP1, client pull 1. So I wanted to show the tutorial details with the updated visit count. So do you remember how we managed it? Did we write, are we calling two separate service layer methods for it? Answer is no. So here we are calling a single method, get updated tutorial details by name. So this much is worth revising because that gives you a pattern. So where was that? Tutorial service implementation. So control comes here. Important stuff, guys. Stay up. So What is happening here? The service is calling the dow layer method, and dow layer we are using get single result. So if the control comes here without exception, what it means? Tutorial found or not found. In short, tutorial, found or not found, of course found. And what does your get single result method returns is the persistent POJO. But guys, here we have added at transactional annotation over the service layer, which is what is recommendation. So tell me, in such a case, this tutorial POJO, or okay, I'll rephrase, is the session closed or not yet closed by the time control comes to line number 29? Session closed or not yet? 100% not yet, because the transaction is not yet over, and session cannot get closed unless until transaction is over. And what is this famous statement we keep saying? What is we are doing here? Updating the state of the detached POJO, transient, detached, persistent, or removed. Of course, persistent POJO. This statement we have made so many times in our Hibernate training. Updating the state of persistent POJO. And who is responsible for what and when? Hibernate, as being one of the JP implementer, is responsible for automatic dirty checking. As a result, update query will be fired when transactional layer annotated method returns. So since if there are no exception, transaction is committed, update query, and then followed by session closing, L1 cache destroyed, connection returning to the pool. Understood and revised all the things what we said? I mean, is it clear all the things what we did yesterday? This is where we are stopped. So now it is just adding this. Okay, so where are we here? So tutorial, no, sorry, customer controller, right? So this is what it is. And then we had written last this tutorial details. So since some of you have done it, guys, looking at time, which I already overspent. I keep overspending the time in revision, but I hope it helps you. Anyway, so the point is, am I going to waste your time in formatting? Answer is no. So here I have got you the details. I think anyone can just extract the author. How? That request scope dot whatever. I'll just talk in code. So request scope dot tutorial to details dot author, or whatever that POJO property name, author name or something. And similarly, everything you can display. Tell me, can everyone, once the data is lifted all the way to the JSP view layer, can you just split it into these? Confidently, everyone can. Some of you have already done it. So I will just focus on two links. One is the backlink, and one is logout. Let us get started. And we'll finish it and enter REST APIs. So before doing anything, let us just make a copy in 2D18. Just Control C, Control V. So I'm calling it as D18 Spring MVC Hibernate. If you want, continue in the same project. Don't make this. I have to maintain day-wise stuff, so I'm just making a copy. So let it finish. And here, let me change that form.xml. Wherever there was D17, replace it by 8. Okay, replace all. And let me just Maven update it. There's something. Okay, I'll just look into it. Give me a second. So I'll just Maven update it or something. And why we have a problem here? Oh, it has gone. It sometimes takes time to, build all these things. So anyway, there are no red crosses. Somebody had sent me a message regarding she was getting a red cross, I guess. So here is what I was trying to tell you. Anyone, if you get a red cross on any project, there is a problem view. Okay, so how do you open the problem view? Window, show view, and the view name is problems. Okay, so open the problem view, and here it will tell you if there are any problems. So here, I mean, I don't have the problem currently in this, but in that earlier day 14 project, we had used that method, page context dot session dot validate. In short, let's not go there. This is what I meant. That just open the problems view and you will get a clue where the problems are. That was the statement. Anyway, so we've got a copy. Let's not waste more time at all. Let me close everything and let's take you to the whatever page. Am I in day 18? Yes. So SRC main, web app, web INF, views, customer, tutorial details. Now start answering. How do I add the links? Should I add the links directly? These two links I'm talking about. Directly anchor tag href, or should we pass it through Spring URL for the advantages just mentioned? Pass it through the Spring URL. By the way, Spring URL is analogous. Analogous means same as, similar to your JSTL URL. We are simply using Spring, so I'm showing you all that. So how do you add anything? Import the tag lib. So tag library, which are the two attributes? Sorry, URI, and which is the tag library we are using is the tags here. And then you can have any prefix. Spring suggests, I mean the default prefix, it suggests a Spring. Now, so here we are adding the links. This is all I'm showing you. So let us add the links here. Anchor tag, href. You are going to give me the href, so keep the answer ready. Yesterday somebody had already given me, by the way, which was so cool. So this is one, and the other one is log out, log me out. Okay, so give me both the answers. I'm waiting for this answer. So let's see. Let me read. People have really done the job. So /customers /tutorials topic ID, tutorial details topic.id. Very right, guys. Very good going. I'm so happy to see the answer. Yes, both of the answers are correct. So here, let's start. So here, the moment I say slash, I'll be doomed. So inline it with Spring URL. It has a var, it has a value, but when you are injecting it right here, inlining it here, you don't have to say var. So directly start with the value. Value equal to, now we are in the double quotes, so we will write the value in a single quotes. Okay, and then close the tag. Something very weird, you have to retype this, otherwise you will have a red cross. So now what is the value? This is very important. So now when I say back, where I want to go, people have already given me the answer. Let me see. /customer /tutorials. Yes. So you can't take it to the JSP. So open the customer controller and you will get your answer. I'm talking to those who have not yet done it. So I want to go back to the request handling page method to show the tutorials. So this is where I want to go. Are you understanding? And the top level pattern, class level pattern is /customer. So people have answered so rightly, so correctly. So /customer /tutorials. But with this, if I just go here, fine, it will work. But what will be the value of topic ID? Null. And null cannot get translated into integer. So you have to supply the topic ID also. So here, question mark, all matching and all, you know, topic ID. And how do I get the topic ID? Everything is via ELs and tags. So I already have this much. And here, tutorial details. So tutorial details represents a tutorial pojo. So open the tutorial pojo. From tutorial, can I go to topic? Yes. This unidirectional we have maintained. So the name of the property in the pojo is topic. So dot topic. And you remember topic extends from base entity having the property name ID. Have I done it correctly, guys? Check my code. Spring URL, customer tutorials, etc. Is it all fine? So this is taking care of the first link, go to the back, and then user can search more. By the way, if you notice the modified flow, I am asking a backlink here. So that is easy. Just take it to the all topics page. All these things, whatever I can't finish, is your headache, is your job. So coming back to this is done. Here also, I don't want to take into slash or no slash. So simply pass it through spring colon URL. Two advantages are, when I say slash, automatically it will insert the context path and JSession ID if cookies are disabled. So this is the same now. I think you will understand this easily. There's nothing dynamic about it. Value, single quotes, close the tag, retype this, double quotes again. I'll send you this page in case you want it. And here it is going to be. Already people have understood. Login and logout is common between customer and admin. So what is the point in writing two different methods under customer controller and admin controller? Admin controller we have not started. So let us make it in user logout. Okay. So let me send you this. I hope I have done it correctly. Yeah, looks like. So let me send this in a minute. People have already sent you guys. So, but anyway. So what was it? Day 18, right? SRC main, web app, web INF, views, customer. This was what? Tutorial details. Okay. So is everyone clear? Those who have done it are super clear. I know that. Others, anyone? Okay, anyone has a question or people have understood this? Okay. So now this part, we'll test it in a little bit time. So now this part is the only part which is remaining, a logout page. Okay, so standard question, standard answer. When client clicks on the logout link, client pull 1, which will be the URI, which will be sent. So that application properties tells you slash spring MVC boot. After that, slash user slash logout. So can your front controller intercept it? It's a Boolean question, yes or no? 100% yes. Will be given to handler mapping. And what will it return? Null or not null? 100% null. So what is the next action you have to take? What is the next step? New controller or new method? Logout page is wrong. You have to first go to that controller and add the method. Add the new method in the user controller. Very, very right answer. And what will it be mapped to? Slash user is already there at the class level pattern. We will add a request handling method with slash logout. So tell me, get mapping or post mapping? Of course, get mapping, clicking on the link, right? So here itself, be absolutely clear. So open your user controller and let's add a method. See here, the comments are more. Code is 1 or 2 or 3 liners, but let the comments be there because it gives you a chance to revise. So add request handling method for users logout. Okay. So we already decided. If I make a mistake, tell me. Get mapping slash logout. String is going to be a logical view name. So most of the times you'll keep ending. Most of the times means before I enter REST APIs. The string, logical view name, and what was it? User logout or something. Okay. Is it add? That's what we said, return null here. That is giving me the error is what I'm saying. Is not allowed for this location. Oh, I'm writing it in the method. Okay. Sorry. I was, writing a method in the method. So of course it was scrubbing my problem with the curly braces. Anyway, so coming back to this, I hope you got here. Just add a SOP, a tracer here in user logout. Okay. So now refer to the requirement and let's do this. Finish it off. So I want hello followed by username. Okay. I am just telling you. You have to give a, this will be from the JSP. But you, for JSP to get the data, you have to provide the data through controller, right? So I want username, a message, you have logged out. And this is, okay, sorry, invalid the HTTP session, of course. And here, all this earlier time I was showing you through the link, visit again, and then we were taking the client to whatever, to the login page or whatever. But here, I want to do it automatically. And okay, so are the requirements clear completely? So earlier, we were discarding the session in the logout.jsp in the view layer, which is a wrong thing. JSP is only presentation logic, but that time we were not entering, we are not entered MVC. So here, these are the steps. I mean, you have to do all this. So discard the session. Okay. And you have to do something here, which will automatically redirect client to the index page. I have an index page or whatever page you want to. So anyone wants to tell me, how do you discard the session? Everyone knows it so well. How do I discard the session? Session.invalidate. But here we are not sitting in a servlet. We are sitting in a Spring MVC controller. So do I have to say request.getSession or simply ask it as a dependency? DI, dependency injection or get the session? Of course, dependency injection. So here, everyone knows, anytime you have a request handling method, simply add, is HTTP session a valid dependency to inject? 100%. And once I do this, then it becomes so easy. Session.invalidate. So you remember, I'll just refresh your memory because this is like must. In that day 14, where we were not on day 14, we were of course not in Spring and all that. So here, if you see our JSP, I'll show you. So you'll relate to it. We were discarding the session in the JSP layer. Okay. And you had to bear with this red cross. It was working, but your ID was thinking you are calling page context dot get session, that was working, and the method get invalidate. So I don't want to get there. I want to do it in a proper Java style manner. So we are changing it all over. So coming back to the point, let me open that user controller and we have discarded the session. Got it? So this part we will do in a minute, but I have a bigger problem. The moment session is discarded, will you be able to remember the user details after that session is gone? Of course not. So what is the solution? I want to put it in a map. Exactly. Which map? This one, Kunal? Put it in which scope? Map is just a vague word. Put it in the model attribute map. Okay. So this is where you are taking the data from session scope and putting it in under the request scope. So just ask for the dependency. When I say model map, I hope everyone understands it is a map of model attributes to be put in the request scope. So should I just do the data transfer before invalidate or after? Of course, before. So copy session scope attribute under model map. How? Everyone should know this by now. Map dot add attribute. I can have either the same attribute name, different one. How does it matter? You can always look it up in the JSP. And what will be the second argument, guys? I've said map dot add attribute. Second argument, session dot get attribute. Right? You know, set attribute, get attributes, and all that. So get attribute, and here you have to be proper. Okay, I ended up giving the same name. I'll change it. Otherwise, later you will feel it has to be same or something. Of course not. So what are we doing? We are reading the session scope attribute. You remember that outer map, session, and the innermost map. So these details are in the innermost map. and putting it in the, in the request scope. I mean, you are not putting it in the request scope, dispatcher servlet will put it. And then the session is invalidated. Understood the statement so far? I'm not talking to those who have already done it. I'm trying to talk to those who have not done it. I'm trying to understand. Is it all clear so far? Yes or no? Quickly. Okay. Now the next thing. If I just wanted to give a link visit again, I will put it in the logout JSP. But how to automatically redirect the client to index page after some delay? So you might, okay, the moment I say redirect, you will say, okay, send it as redirect : send it as a redirect view name, and it will happen. But guys, it's a wrong option. Why? Because if you say redirect, what happens in the redirect? The response buffer is all cleared. So in short, you will not get this message at all. Are you understanding or not? If I use redirect : whatever, then I will not get, I won't get any logout message. So there is a different approach. So here again, I've written it in a question answer format. Read this in a Spring MVC details. I shared it on in one of those sequences. Read question and the answer and the API. So when you want to retain the response and don't want the container to discard the response buffer, there is another header. In redirect, what header gets this thing? Location and SC code is 302. Here we are setting a refresh header of a HTTP response. How do you do this? You have a method of HTTP servlet response, set header. What will be the name of the header? Refresh. And what will be the value? Here you can play with the value. So if I suppose want a delay, this unit is in seconds. So if I say 10, there will be automatically set the delay of 10 seconds. And after that, the attribute is URL. And if you want, suppose to be taken to, let's say, root of the web application, that is where our index page is mapped to, you can do it that way. Okay. But now I don't want to hard code such as /spring MVC boot or whatever. So how to get the context path or the root of the web application? There is a HTTP servlet request method, get context path. Okay. So, okay, this is not the current discussion. Wait a second. This was something else. Anyway, so we are going to use two APIs. Which is the method of the HTTP servlet response to set the header? Set header. What is the name of the header we are setting? Name of the header, refresh header. What is the value? Delay in seconds, and URL is equal to, this is what we are going to set, request.getContextPath. So this is the API discussion. I told you everything basis is servlet. But are we writing this in a servlet or are we writing it in a Spring MVC controller? Everyone knows the answer. We are writing it in a controller Spring. But no worries, you have dependency injection. So what are the dependencies? What are the dependencies of this method? I want response to set the header. I want request to get the context path. Can I tell the container, get me those request and response objects? Answer is yes. There's a long list of dependencies which are available. So this is one of them. So simply add HTTP servlet request. If you have, I don't know whether you have done it or not. This was a new thing, so may not. So here I can say request and HTTP servlet response. Everything is DI based, dependency injection based. Finished so much? Understood what I said? We want to call the API of request and response, but we are not in a servlet. If we were in a servlet, your servlet container calls do star method with these two arguments. But no issues. I can ask Spring Container about it. So Spring Container will not create these objects. Web Container creates these objects. Spring Container simply takes these objects and passes it to your method. Okay. So how do I do this? The method is response dot. Oh, sorry, just a second. This response dot method name is set header. Read the pop-up. Sets the response header with a given name and a value. Okay. So what is the name of the header? It is all case insensitive. Refresh is the header name. You please do the, what is it called? Inspect, Control-Shift-I in the browser, and you can see all these headers and all getting set. And the value is nothing but, let's say 5 seconds a delay, semicolon, URL is equal to. So if you say slash spring MVC, whatever, sorry, spring MVC boot in a hard-coded manner, recommended or not recommended. The moment you do hard coding of the web URI, of course not recommended. So definitely will not do this. And that is where that other method get context path helps you. So here I'll simply say URL is equal to request dot get context path. Read the pop-up. Returns the portion of the request URI that indicates the context of the request. So the context path always comes first in the request URI. I have said this 10,000 times, and it has the beginning slash. So you don't have to really worry about it. So let's say get context path. So anyone wants to tell me what will be the value of the refresh header? When you apply those inspect tools, what will you see? Something wrong here. This. Oh, this was a wrong import. Anyway, so what will be the value of the refresh header? 5 seconds delay, and then you will see the URL. And what will be the URL here? What is the current context which we have set it in that servlet context path? Slash spring MVC boot. And then this is the easiest question. Where I want to navigate the client to my logout page, which is we have not yet written, but we will definitely add it under the user space /user/logout. And since it is not having any redirect option, the actual view name resolved by view resolver would be MRF views and user logout.jsp. So that is the last part of our one half of a case study. Okay, tell me, clear? Or if something is not clear, you tell me. I'll just recap anyway. This is a simple trick because our session is going to get discarded, but I want to retain the user details till the last page. All this is a pure Java code. So why write it in the JSP is the philosophy. So we're completing everything in the controller. And after the delay of 5 seconds, okay, so let me say this properly. So when the logout.jsp contents are sent to the client browser will see a refresh header set with this value. And you tell me what will client browser do? It's similar to redirect. So what will client browser do after 5 seconds? Because I've given the delay of 5 seconds. Will it just sit there or do something? It will automatically send a new request to which path? To your root of the web application. And you remember, have we mapped anything? Just a second, this is not the our project. Have we mapped anything to the root of the web application? Answer is yes. Show homepage as in homepage controller. And again, it will take you to the index page and the whole flow will begin. Understood what I said? Okay, so now last page we will write and we'll test it. So which is the page you have to write? Under user space, user folder, logout.jsp. Finish it fast and test it. There's no JSP here. So WebInf use user. Okay, just be careful about the paths and all. So I want it as a hello followed by username. So should I extract the username from request scope or session scope? Of course, request scope. Just now you saw. So let's not waste your time. Already we are late in starting rest. So request scope dot. Now go here. Let's not trust memory. So should I use user details? I mean DETA. I mean this part or this part? Of course, this part. Let's not trouble you too much. So here. So I come to the user Pojo, and then there's a name, I guess. App Pojo's user Pojo has a name. Okay. So I got this hello message. Let's give a logged out will be taken to home page shortly. Are we? This is all. Anything else we wanted to do? I'm just checking. Hello, you have logged out, etc. Invalidation and all that already done. So that's it. So let's try this out and confirm whether this part of the one half is working fine. Sorry, what is it I'm doing? My mistake. I got into that run on server. So sorry. This is the one. Oh, this is still pointing to day 17. You can refactor this. I'll refactor it. Refactor rename. And here, suggestion is forget about day 17, day 18. Let's call it as simply. This is what I generally tell the project phase and all people. Simply call it as an application, or you can call it as Spring Boot app, because that is what it is. Entry point. And when you say finish, check something. Okay, this it is saying. It will ask you. It will be a pop-up. There are the test cases. I've not yet shown you Spring Boot testing. Sometime in next week I'll do that. So it is asking you, do you want to rename that also? Say yes. So it won't be like, oh, there's some problems. Oh yeah. So Spring Boot application, my mistake. Are you seeing the ambiguity? The name of the annotation is Spring Boot application, and I by mistake gave it once again a rehaul, once again a refactor application. Don't call it the same name, otherwise how will it know what it is? I caused the ambiguity between that. Go away. Now, that is still having a problem. Oh yeah. So look at this mess. It changed everything. So now let me see one more thing. I'll anyway share this with you. You don't refactor the name at all. Let me just check whether I've not spoiled the test cases. 2 minutes. SRC main Java, because next time we will require it. Application test.java file. So this looks okay. So now right click, run as a Spring Boot app. And you should see the familiar logo, Spring Boot logo. And you should always confirm everything, all the controllers up and running and starting of the Tomcat. Will it automatically launch your client? Answer is no. That much you have to do. So here, localhost 9090, yeah, Spring MVC boot. I'm just testing the remaining part. I am choosing this all the time because I have not added the data under the other topics. So this much we had stopped at yesterday. So it has author name, etc. You will properly format it. If you say back, where is that visit count? And if I say Spring Core again, it's getting reflected fine. So that backlink is also working fine. And when you say log out, you are waiting for the automatic send. So automatically your client browser has sent the request after 5 seconds of delay, and the whole sequence starts all over. Understood things, guys? Whatever I said from the since morning. Okay. So one half, as promised, I have completed. The second half, which is the admin, is your job. And you give it a try, maximum. Okay, I am going to give you 2 tasks. One is the REST API, full stack. So that is a highest priority. But if you get time after going through the REST API full stack, definitely try out this. And Monday when we meet, I want to show you a small, not small, smaller big, you decide, a pending topic in Spring MVC web application called as form binding. Listen to this carefully. In 5 minutes or 2 minutes, I'm going to take you to REST APIs. First the concept and then the implementation. Okay. So before that, I want to make a statement. Hear me. This is your admin flow. So what is the admin flow? If the user has logged in as an administrator, you're going to take him to this admin page, admin.jsp, admin success.jsp, something. Here, you will have this admin name. I'm explaining the flow, which is your homework. Okay. Hello, admin name. And I've modified it. I've made it more substantial. So it should sound like a proper case study. You should feel like you have worked in Spring. Anyway, so choose a topic. This is a drop-down list. So suppose whatever field. So all these things you know. So admin guy chooses the topic. This is the grid view. So what is it I'm displaying here? The topic names. Oh, sorry. Tutorial names under the serverless topic. Now, this is a full-fledged CRUD again, but with a relationship. So when you say delete, your admin can anyway anytime delete the tutorials. So it should delete the tutorial and redirect. See, I have given you the clues everywhere. Redirect to the same page where this particular tutorial should be gone. Should be gone from 2 places, from the database also and from the view layer also. If user means administrator wants to change certain updation of the tutorial, currently I'm giving only the content update. So give a form. So the name of the tutorial was, okay, there is a mismatch here. Lifecycle means servlet lifecycle. And here you should display the original contents. Okay, those contents are already there in the database. And user means admin guy can update the contents or whatever. And when the client administrator clicks on the button, you should update the contents in the database and automatically redirect the client to this main page. So all these things are okay. Okay means I hope you'll try and you'll manage. But the point is when the administrator wants to add a new tutorial. So I have a question now. Hear me correctly. How many inputs are you taking from the client to add a new tutorial? Quickly count and tell me. How many inputs are we taking from the user? Simple question, simple answer. It's a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, you are right. 5 inputs. Okay. So if you are taking 5 request parameters from the client, whenever you write, this is under the admin. So you'll be writing an admin controller. I'm giving you a chance, hoping that you will take it up. You'll be interested in doing it. So you'll end up writing all this logic in what? Customer controller, user controller, or will you write a from scratch admin controller? Of course, admin controller. Everyone gets me? I'm trying to give you practice. And we are still together for next 1 or 2 days in the next week sometime. So coming back to the question, you will have a process form. Are you understanding? Show form, process form. So in the process form phase, in that request handling method, hopefully with a post mapping, how many dependencies will you have to inject? I'll repeat the question again. In the admin controller, in the process at tutorial form phase or the action or method, how many dependencies? Forget model map HTTP session. Just give me otherwise. How many dependencies you'll have to inject to bind request parameter to method argument? Quick question, quick answer. One. One is a horribly wrong answer. Answer is 5. Are you not getting it? 1 for topic. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correct answer is all 5. So at the rate request param and you will inject it. So let me ask you. I'm giving you 2 options. So adding 5 request parameters and getting the topic, the tutorial name, etc. And you means programmer, controller programmer, creating a Pojo, tutorial Pojo is a good idea, which is what we had done some time back in the Java Bean. Or you want Spring Container to do the form binding, meaning pick up all this data and bind it directly to server-side object, which is nothing but your tutorial Pojo. Which one sounds attractive? Of course, form binding. Are you getting this? So that small part I have not taken because already we are getting little delayed for REST APIs. See, guys, it is all time permitting. I want to spend good amount of time with REST APIs, helping you to, create your backend of the full stack. But so what I'll suggest is, see, I'm sharing in the today's help. README. Have I? There's no regarding this. Okay, I'll share. There's somewhere regarding form binding. There's a README, which I'll definitely share. In case I forget, remind me that you are going to share the README regarding form binding. So the point is, if you can't manage that, if you can't do this, fine. We will do it together on Monday morning. But otherwise, at least complete this part. So you will have to inject 5 at request param for the method binding. And then when we sit together, we will replace this by one argument. One method argument, which will be tutorial. And you will see that it will automatically bind all this form data and give you that tutorial Pojo instance ready-made. So this part is the only missing part in that Spring MVC web application. Rest all I have shown you. So other than this, what I said, if you say, no, I don't want to learn my own, I want to spend time with REST, fine, go ahead. Do this little bit with the approach, 5 at request param arguments. We will replace it with 1 tutorial object on Monday. So have you at least understood this flow diagram, the admin flow? Tell me. The flow wise it is clear. So try it out. Let's see whatever you can. I'm not promising that everything I'll be able to take or I will take. But this form binding is an important concept for you. So this branch at least I'll take. Means what I'll take is this whole list grid view and showing this. Okay, so that part. So having said this, let us finally enter REST APIs. Just a second, I'll just close the things which I don't require. Content management system, no, not anymore. And just things. Okay, so here we are entering representational state transfer, or what we are going to launch is RESTful web services. So first the concept and then the implementation. So tell me honestly, how comfortable you are in REST concepts. Representational state transfer, when anyone says REST architecture, REST concepts, because you have done it earlier. I'm asking you a frank question. Accordingly, I'll set my pace. Waiting for the answer, guys. How comfortable you are in REST principles, representational state transfer, how comfortable you are. Only one answer I'm getting, 60-70%, which is very good, Kunal, I would say. So I don't have to then go from the scratch. That's what is the answer. People don't answer me, then I have to. So this is 50% is what you are saying. Anyway, I'm giving you all my readmes and all this, but I'll just quickly go through the concepts when you say you are kind of. Okay, some of you are saying not much. Okay, I got the feedback. So let me start it. You tell me whenever I say things, if it is not clear, I'll go a little deeper. So there are a lot of diagrams to be shared. Give me a second. I will just add content to 2 minutes. This you will not require today, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll just give you date in help, but with the form binding also. 2 minutes. Regarding 2 seconds, so that I don't forget. Here I've given all the write-up. Yeah. So this should be good enough. Just Spring MVC flow. This is fine. Diagrams are also there. I'll make a zip and send you. So and I'll tell you to extract it and refer to the diagrams which I want you to look at. Yeah, just get this, extract, and you will see a separate folder here, representational state transfer. And here, there is a diagram called as web application versus web service. So tell me, all these days, what is it we were developing? A web application or a web service? Simple question, simple answer. Today is what, day 18? So first 18 days or 17 days, answer is web application. Okay. So here, just look at the ready-made diagrams. Just look at the part which I'm explaining. So you have a thin client web browser, sends the HTTP request. And what is this web application? Let us say it is a weather forecasting application, liveweather.com or any weather this. Okay. So here, don't read the word backend. Okay. I'll develop it. I'll explain you in parts. So here is the HTTP request. So suppose I want to plan a trip. Okay. I want to go out. I'm too tired working at home or whatever I mean. So the point is I want to plan my day, Sunday maybe. So I want to find out what is the weather like. So what we do is we just consult a weather forecasting app and look at it. So at that point, what will weather forecasting web application? I'm saying web application. Don't use the word. Of course, it is going to get converted into backend, but little later. So if you open, so you send a request, application sends you a response. But important statement now. When you see that HTTP response, what is it going to contain? Of course, a presentation logic. So is it going to be, listen to the question again, is it going to contain raw weather data or browser understandable data format such as text/HTML? Whenever you are developing a web application, what is the response content type we have been sending all these days? You tell me the content type, text/HTML or a raw data in form of JSON or XML or whatever, text/HTML. So this is the highlight between web application versus web service. So here, as a ordinary web application which we have been developing, no front end, no back end, nothing. It was just a HTML content and HTML understandable happily by the web browser. Are you clear with this interaction? Request and response flow. Yes or no? I'm getting you gradually. You said not 100% comfortable. So I'm taking an extra minute or whatever. So next question. What exchange will you call this? Is it a business to business, B2B, or is it B2C, business to client? This is your business application. B2C, let me see your answer. B2C or B2B? Of course, it is B2C. Are you getting it? See, guys, you already know it. Why you are saying you are not comfortable? So this is your B2C. Here there is a human, there is an end user person who is sitting here who will look at this weather data, maybe, put in a nice sunny weather or rainy weather or too cold or too hot or whatever. So we'll see this. Okay, so call this as, or that it is a B2C exchange, business application to client. All good so far? Great. Now I'm saying I have a different requirement, not the same company, different company. Okay, so read this. You have a web client, a thin client browser, and you are given, or somebody is developing, or you are developing, you yourself are a developer. So you are given a task to schedule, to do the flight scheduling. I'm talking about a flight reservation system, basically. So one of the important part of a flight reservation is the customer endpoint. But the point is, somebody, the flight, suppose Air India, Tata Airlines, whatever. So the point is, the airline company has to schedule the flights. So let me say it in simple English. So if you are developing a flight scheduling app, the HTTP request will go from the airline authority manager, airline manager, and your app should give again the user understandable data that these are the flight schedules. For example, if you have a SpiceJet or whatever, Go Air or whatever, that these are the schedules for a particular airline. One to many. One airline can have multiple flight schedules. So what kind of an exchange you will call it between these two guys? B2C or B2B? Business to client or business to business? This is also B2C. Presentation logic, well, user understandable format. In simple English, what if you tap it here, HTTP response, what will be the content type typically? Text/HTML. If you're adding some images and all, image/GIF, image/JPEG, etc. Okay, so are we good so far? This is also B2C. Completely clear? Yes or no? But now, a flight scheduling app is going to depend upon so many external factors. And one of that external factor can be a weather. So if you are designing a flight schedules for an airline company, and if the weather is what? Turbulent, too cloudy, too rainy and all, would you like to add multiple schedules, or would you like to reduce the schedules? Would you like to reduce the number of flights, or would you like to add? Simple, dumb question. Of course, you want to reduce. You got me? So it is dependent upon the weather. Maybe a fortnight. Generally, companies go ahead with a weekly forecast, or weekly schedule or 2 weekly schedule or whatever. So it is dependent upon one external factor, weather. So guys, when you are developing a flight scheduling app, will you leave everything aside and start designing the weather app, or would you just call the APIs of the existing app? I'll repeat the question again. Would you like to write a monolithic web application which does the flight scheduling as well as weather forecasting app, or would you just like to call the APIs? Answer is, of course, call the APIs. So now focus on this interaction. So what will you call this interaction between one web application and another web application? Is it a B2B or is it B2C? Of course, B2B. One business application talking to another business application. You must have heard a trending word today, microservices. This is what it is all about. Instead of writing a large monolithic application, you develop it and see the word microservice. Of course, the microservice architecture is yet another ballgame, but the basics are the same. Dividing the application functionally. So coming back to the point, here you have to, let me say step by step. So is it really guaranteed that this application is also developed in the same technology as the weather forecasting app? Do they have to be on the same technology, or can it be a cross technology? Of course, cross technology. So this could be your developed in Node.js. This could be your React, or this could be your Spring Boot application. This could be your React frontend or whatever. I mean, so many choices, your ASP.NET backend, good backend. So the point is now, if it is a cross-technology solution, what is it we use? That is where the web services come in. So what is a web service? Web service is the cross-technology, machine-independent, technology independent, machine independent, platform independent, service-oriented architecture. But this was the history, SOA, service-oriented architecture. Today we have resource-oriented architecture. Okay, so that is where the RESTful and all I'll get into little later. So coming back to the point, I hope you have understood. We want to develop a cross-technology solution which is distributed into multiple apps. So naturally, what will you call it now? See, if you follow this flow, it is a regular web app. But you know, take your Twitter, take your Facebook, take your so many airline reservations, so many have given you the regular developer backend APIs. So this is a backend, and this can be considered as a front end. So tell me, what will user see? Will user get to interact with a front end or a back end? Obvious question. Where will be UI? Of course, in the front end. And this communication, as you said, is a business to business. But because it is a cross-technology solution, independent of technologies, one is React and one is Spring Boot we are talking about. So both of them have to come to common exchange format. So important point, guys, now. What was the typical response content type from the web application? Text/HTML, human understandable, person understandable, browser understandable format. But here, flight scheduling app is going to tell weather forecasting system, give me the raw data, give me just the weather data. I will interpret it using my scheduling algorithm, and I'll present it to user. In short, what should it be? So read this carefully. Of course, when you talk about REST is what? Just a principle, representational state transfer. So here, HTTP request and HTTP response. But if you probe the response content type, is it going to be text/HTML, client understandable format, or is it going to be a raw data? Of course, raw data. And what are the three formats possible? I'm saying it is XML, text, or the most common, most popular, lightweight data exchange format is JSON. So what will be the response content type hereafter? Will it be text/HTML or will it be application/JSON? Of course, it will be application/JSON. So both these entities means backend and a frontend, are exchanging the pure data, request data, response data using JSON. And that is where we are building a full stack application. So my responsibility is backend, but at least one full integration I wanted to show you. So I'm giving you the, what is it called? Ready-made React app. And we will be focusing not weather forecasting, we are writing employee and all. So that way. But this is just one interaction. Other factor, your flight scheduling app could be on pricing. You know, the social listening, customer listening. They steal the data from our WhatsApp conversations and whatnot. So anyway, so that is a different discussion. So the point is, there are people listening to what your choices are. So if you are saying that, okay, this airline is highly priced, hiked and all, so they may come out with a different plan, different schedules and all. Other could be the seasonal data. Holidays are approaching, Christmas break or Diwali break or whatever breaks you're having. So you plan to go out, so these are the factors. So instead of writing a big monolithic web application, we are dividing it in a functional manner, microservices basically, and we are going to do this interaction in a layered manner. So front end application will be only responsible for UI, talking to the user, presentation logic, and where will be the business logic, data access logic and all that will be on the back end. Understood the shift from web application to web services, guys? Completely? Got the feel? Yes, not comfortable to little bit comfortable at least. I am not yet done. I've not brought in rest here. Representation, state transfer, I'm not brought in. So now let me talk in Java. So here, just a second, will you be able to handle this? Yeah, I think you will be able to good in this. So till today, till now, the last one which we developed, D18 something, was pure Spring MVC based web application. So if I say we are going to develop a backend hereafter, so which layer will be gone from this? What? The backend. Your choices are controller. What was that? Service, DAO, POJO, database, view layer, and whatever. Of course. Okay, let us say this, Yogesh. Controller gone means controller will be simply replaced by REST controller. So it stays. Okay, controller replaced by REST controller. But guys, other guys are right. I mean, that is what I meant. The view layer will be gone. Because where will be the view layer? Backend or front end? Everyone knows front end. But are we relearning? Are all these days where we spent on Spring Core, Spring MVC wasted or not at all wasted? 100% not wasted. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent so much time, guys. So the entire flow is the same, except the fact that there is no view resolver because there is nothing to resolve as a view layer on the back end. There won't be any model attributes because the job of the model map and model and view and model attributes was to exchange the data between the controller and the view layer. So that will be gone. All those flash attributes, redirect attributes, all will be gone. And if you really want to develop industry grade, I mean, proper backend, should you ever have HTTP session? I'm sure ma'am must have said all this. I'm just repeating her. So should you ever have the session tracking done in a backend? I said, should you ever have HTTP session tracking in the backend? It's a Boolean question, yes or no. Session tracking in the backend, 100% no. Because when I tell you the REST principles, representation state transfer is not a protocol. It's just an architectural style principle. First word is stateless. So if you are creating any HTTP session object in your backend, I'm telling you without looking at your code, you are doing wrong. It's a completely wrong design. People call it as a code smell. It's a horribly wrong code. So whatever session tracking, whatever remembering the client, where will you do? All these are, guys, project tips. Where should you do it? In the front end or in the back end? Of course, in the front end, either use local storage, session storage, whatever you want. Okay, so that way. So now let me just tell you the flow, and then I'll tell you the details about it. So that once you have the flow clear, we will take the break after this. Don't worry, I just looked at the time. So now see the entities. I'm so sorry. See the blocks. Dispatcher servlet, 0 change. Handler mapping bean, no change. The request handling controller, which was sending back a logical view name to be resolved by the view resolver, change or no change? That was a big statement for you to digest. I said the request handling controller, which was sending back a logical view name to be resolved by the view resolver, 100% change. So what is it we are going to replace it by? Guys, see the beauty or the, weightage of Spring Framework. You just change one annotation from at controller to at REST controller. What is REST? REST principles after the break. So when you add this, it is a combination of two annotations. Okay. So, okay, before I go there, I'll just tell you. So below REST controller, which are the layers which are going to be 0 change? service layer unaffected, full of business logic. DAO layer, till today, we are having DAO layer interface and implementation class. Wait for Spring Data JPA to begin, and you will see DAO layer completely thin. Completely thin means, will there be an interface implementation class, both or neither? The moment I upgrade you, migrate you to Spring Data JPA, only interfaces. Can you believe it? Would you have believed it if I told you on the first day of JDBC? I hope it is not. So see the journey we have done. Full-fledged DAO layers to the reduction in code, and ultimate reduction is get rid of implementation, write only interfaces. Okay, so that is Spring Data JPA for you. POJOs and database all same. Zero change in understanding of POJOs. Okay, so the ladder below the controller, 100% same. Now focus on controller to REST controller. What was the controller sending back to dispatcher servlet? Typically, of course, there was a redirect view, but if you don't count that, logical view name. And because that was resolved in the web application to a view layer, etc. So that is a major change. So when you say REST controller annotation, I'll repeat this afterwards also 10 times a day, add controller on the class level. So that is why Yogesh has said, controller does not get replaced. Controller stays put. It is your request handling controller, but is it going to send back a logical view name to be resolved by the view resolver, or the raw data, pure data, JSONized data, whatever, okay, raw data to be sent to the front end? Answer is raw data. Okay, so there is an annotation. Everything is done in annotation. So there is an annotation called as response body. So add response body annotation means whatever you are sending from this REST controller to dispatcher servlet, is it a actual actual data, or is it a view name? There's no view layer, so remove the views. Okay, so it is going to be the actual data, but that data is going to be Java objects. We are going to do employee CRUD. I am taking the same example. Same means I don't know, same, similar. So suppose I want to return the employee object, employee data. Listen to this carefully. Where would be my employee data? In my database. There would be employees table. Next one is that data will be represented by, we are going to write everything from scratch today. No copies. So employee POJO. Copy will be front-end React app. Anyway, so employee POJO. Employee DAO. No implementation, only interface. Employee service. So let me ask you a simple question. If your front end sends some employee ID using some React forms and all, what is it we are supposed to send back? Employee data, employee details. But if I send the employee POJO as an employee object, it is a Java object. So will it be understood by your JavaScript framework, JavaScript libraries such as React or later Angular or whatever? I'll repeat the question. This employee object, if I send it on the wire means on the network, will it be understood? Of course not. So what has to happen? Can I continue to talk in Java data format, or do I have to go to the lightweight data exchange format? In short, JSON. So guys, see the beauty. You don't have to use any APIs. When you add, when you add at response body annotation, what will Spring Container do? Answer is marshalling. What is marshalling? Serialization. But when I say serialization, what will be the conversion? Java object to binary stream or Java object to JSON? Java to JSON or Java to binary? Guys, we are not in core Java where we were doing all this. We are in RESTful web services and all that. It will be Java to JSON, automatically done by one annotation. But if I have got, suppose, 10 request handling methods, I had to do it on 10 methods earlier. So Spring community says, don't bother. One annotation at the controller level automatically gives you this support. So this is going into too much details, too fast, too soon. So let me ask you, what is it which your REST controller going to send it to the dispatcher servlet? Your choices are logical view name, forward view name, redirect view name, or the already answer, the raw data annotated with response body annotation. Everyone understands there's an answer here. So REST controller is sending back to dispatcher servlet the response body annotated pure response. See the word response body. It is the body of the response. The moment it comes to the dispatcher servlet, will it send it to the view resolver to resolve it into the actual view name and then forward it to the view layer? Guys, there's no view layer. So read this. Skips the view resolver. We're going to do all this, which will be so interesting doing it together. So no need to configure view resolver, means so many layers are going to drop off. So here I've taken a e-commerce, product based thing. So suppose this was your product controller sending the list of products under a particular category, let's say food category. And I want to send it all to your React front end, where you nicely display with your Bootstrap, CSS, and all of that fancy stuff, put it in a nice grid view and show it to the client along with the images and all that, product images and all that. Okay. So now read this. Who is performing what? Your dispatcher servlet is performing the serialization. But what is that serialization? It is a conversion from technology specific Java object to technology independent, lightweight data exchange format. Use all these detailed words in interview. I'm telling you, people get impressed. So what is it at the end of the day? Java to JSON conversion, which is normally called as marshalling. Okay, so that is done with one annotation automatically added. So here, what is being sent back? This dispatcher servlet never consults the view resolver, not needed. So it will just take the Java object, that is list of products, arrow list of products or whatever, converts it into the JSON array. Everyone knows JSON data types. So it will get converted into JSON array and that will be sent into the front end. Front end in our case is going to be React, which is JavaScript, which understands JavaScript objects, and that will be displayed in a presentation logic manner, of course, using React components, JSX. Basically, JSX will do the job of rendering the details. Understood something? What is it we are going to do? Got some feel of it? So I've stretched it enough. So when we come back, I'll show you the layers again and we will read this one. So that is where I'll get a chance to brush up on your REST and you'll know the terms, the key terms, key resources and all of that. And then we will start. Okay, okay, if you feel, okay, I want to read something in the break, I'm not pushing you. It's up to you. So I have written one readme, which is really important. REST controller versus MVC controller and all the annotations we are going to use. So all these readmes I'll explain step by step. And what we are going to do purely is a hands-on. So I'll explain quickly the React flow, which I think any of you will understand quickly, and will develop the backend. I'm not sure whether all CRUD will finish. Whatever will finish and continue on Monday. So this is what we are going to do for the rest of the time. So I've given you all the help. Did I give you the zip file also? I created a zip and shared, right? Did I share the after logout? Okay, I did not. I'll give me a second. Zip, this thing I've shared, I'll send you the after I did that logout thing. So if you want, you can have a look at it. So take this and you can definitely continue the admin flow in your free time, in your lab or whatever. Okay. So there are remaining days. Okay, remaining days, most of it I'm going to spend on developing REST APIs, but there are certain exam topics also. There is Spring AOP, aspect-oriented programming. In core Java, I have left some of the topics. So all that exam-related topics I generally cover in one day. So you can just go through it, not practically, but yes, exam objective-wise. And remaining things like image uploading, image downloading, whatever project tips, I'll share as the ready-made demos. So that and many more, much more after the break. So we will resume at 11:15. So be there in time, please.